indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of prayer, please. Thank you.
Alderman Wadawa.
Here.
Alderwoman Calderon.
Here.
Alderman Brickner.
Here.
Alderman Fire.
Here.
Alderman Damon.
Here.
And Alderman Fliss, is she excused?
Excused.
Okay. Thank you. The meeting has been properly posted and noticed.
Telephonic meeting, none.
Oh, okay. Let me undo that then. We do have a public hearing for change of zoning M1 Limited Industrial District Special Use under Ordinance 1387 to M1 Limited Industrial Use for 2040 East St. Francis Avenue, and no one has signed up to speak, Mayor.
Mark or Paul, do you have anything to add to this? I will ask 3 times. Is there anyone that would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone besides Ricky G that wants to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone else that'd like to speak at this public hearing? The public hearing is closed. Presentation, none. Citizens' comments. Ben? Or did you just sign up? You didn't know that this was for citizens' comments? Okay, we're good. Consent agenda. Is there any older person who would like anything removed?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Recommendation of action from committees, commissions, and boards. Action to be taken from the licensing committee meeting held September 20th, 2022.
Mayor, we're looking for amusement tags for Lake States Vending LLC, Chad R. Goldman.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, we have beverage operators license for Michael Middlemas.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, we got combination Class B liquor, Class B beer license for Gordy's. Just a structure change in the paperwork due to the fact of the death in the family.
And there was amendment on that we're waiting for the fees, correct, Paul?
Correct.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, we're looking for Class B retailer's license for the Cavalier Athletic Association for their Oktoberfest to be held 10/1/22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Next, we got temporary, we didn't need that, Fred, correct, the temporary extension?
Correct, we don't need that.
That's all from licensing, Mayor. The
Celebration.
request for beer sales at the Celebrations Committee for Food Truck Frenzy to be held on 10/2/22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
And that is all from.
Thank you, Don. Action to be taken from the Park Commission meeting held September 7th, 2022. Melinda?
Alderwoman Fliss is the representative for that committee. There she is. Yay.
Once she's seated, I will repeat it. Action to be taken from the Park Commission meeting held September 7th, 2022. Debbie?
I'd like to make a motion to concur with the recommendation from the Park Commission to approve the extension of the rental of Retno Park until the third weekend in October.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
I have another motion, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to concur with the recommendation from the Park Commission to approve the renaming of the Vretnar Park Band Shell to the L. Richards Memorial Band Shell.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Awesome. Debbie, do you have anything more?
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Resolution and ordinances. Ordinance to repeal and recreate section 198-6 of the Code Ordinances.
Skipped one, Mayor. There's one before that.
Is there? Oh, there is. Thanks, a little something extra in your check on Thursday. Combined authorizing resolution for the Urban Forestry Catastrophic Storm Grant Program. Melinda?
This resolution is required for when the city applies for urban forestry grants. We will be applying for an urban forestry grant this, for 2023 to do an inventory of the city. The last inventory we had done was in 2011. So, in discussing with City Administrator Johnsrud, we felt it was a good opportunity to update it since it's been approximately 10 years.
Do we need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the combined authorization resolution for urban forestry catastrophic grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on, ordinance to repeal and recreate section 198-6 of the Code of Ordinance for the City of St. Francis regulating fences. Mark or Paul?
Mayor, this was a referral from the, recommendation from the, or actually referral from the Planning Commission with respect to an application that was made for the fact permit to permit an existing fence that is constructed out of metal. So there are recommended or proposed changes to the front yard fence provisions that would grant the Planning Commission more leeway with regard to the type of construction materials. In talking with Mark this afternoon, however, would like to further recommend that the any use of metal fencing materials be other than chain link and wire type fences, and so to prevent the use of or potential use of chicken wire or what was the other one? Hog panel type fences in the front yards in the city.
Paul, is that something you're adding to this now, right now?
Yes, it would go to section G1B3, correct. So where it says other than chain link type fences, it would read other than chain link and wire hyphen type fencing materials.
So you're putting that, it's not in there.
It's not in there, it's not in the draft that was published to the council, so this would be a further amendment.
I'll make a motion to introduce and adopt
Second.
As amended, or?
as amended, yeah, of course.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Mayor, if I could, I would like to make a motion to suspend the agenda to go to K-9 Legacy presentation for our audience members.
Second.
He doesn't sound like he wants to go to bed. He
All
sounds like
agree?
he wants to stay up for the entire meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No offense, it's gonna get you up a little early.
Detective Holly, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. So in the packet that was uploaded, I think on Friday, hopefully you guys all got a chance to look at it. I used my very fine art skills to create a mock-up of what we're looking at for the statue. So originally, Melinda and I had gone out into the outside and kind of looked around to see what would have been the best spot for the statue. I really liked the idea of front and center, so we had talked about up against the building. The artist actually flew in and met Bain back in August. She came in on her own dime. She spent about 2 hours with him. We measured everything from the width of his wrap of his, like how wide his paws were, his tail, how high he stood. I mean, everything, his snout length. So she took, we talked about what he generally wore on duty, generally just his 2 collars and a small harness, so it's not gonna be too much on the statue. She traced everything, so even the links are gonna be the same width that his collar currently is. Don't worry, he was just as grumpy for her as he is for everybody else. There was no exception. So He would be here today. He was here this afternoon, but he's actually at his therapy appointments right now. So hopefully he's in the tank with hydrotherapy and acupuncture. He has decreased in mobility since the last time I was before the board. He is now down to basically his back legs mobility in the house as he's dragging his back legs behind him. But I have noticed even in the last couple days, like kind of pep in his step, if you want to say that. He seems, now that the humidity is kind of broke, he seems to be doing much better. Yesterday, we actually took the longest walk we've taken since before his diagnosis. So, and that was in the wheelchair. So I don't know if he'll be here with us in the spring, but I can sure hope so, right? So the other part of that, and I don't remember if I talked about this in the last presentation, but if he is not, I've already, as part of the contract, is that bronze heart to go inside of the canine statue. So, but hopefully, you know, we don't have to go that route. Hopefully he can stand next to it, but we'll see. It's up to him. So anyways, so I brought we spent some time here, a couple hours, walking around the building, figuring out like the best spot. And my dad is actually the one that did the painting of Bane that's in the lobby. And so he's the one that introduced me to the artist when I had no idea what I was doing. And so they were both here and they're like, it can't go in the center because these 3 flagpoles create what's called a stop in the artist world. And so basically as someone's driving past, it's natural for their eyes to stop at the flagpole and not go beyond it. So in my conversations with engineering, we have looked at, basically as we're looking at the front of the building, if you can tell by my cool little drawing here, is you're walking up the step, or walking up the path to go to the police department side, it would essentially be right there. My thought is for landscaping, like large landscaping bricks, probably the size of these carpet squares, to come off of the sidewalk, do a 360 walk around the statue, and not super wide. And so really those, and what's nice is the electrical's already there as well. I'd like to have an electrician put 2 lights on the corner of the front of the statue. And then his face, we manipulated, but basically it's less, but his head will be looking out over Howard Avenue at everyone that drives past. So that would be what I'm asking for tonight. If you need to make a motion or if, you know, you just vote on it, is just tentatively that will be the place, assuming nothing else happens, or assuming the artist doesn't have some sort of epiphany at it going somewhere else. Because what I'd like to do is start working on the landscaping. My goal is to find a landscaping contractor that will potentially donate the landscaping in time for their business to be on the monument, or give it to us at cost so that I'm not using a ton of funds to pay for it. However, I do plan on incorporating that into the cost of our overall plan here. Same with the electrical. So as far as that's concerned, that I plan on coming out of the hero fund. The trees, that one that I have those X's through, the first one is actually almost dead. That one I think will become firewood or something, you know, compost. The second one, we talked about just moving it, maybe just moving it out a little further. It is still alive, so we would just try to plant it. So we're not actually causing too much issues out front here. So that's that part. As far as the update, I mean, I'm happy to report about 120 days I think we're at total since I started journaling our experience on Facebook, and we're probably about 110 days into fundraising. I am well over $20,000. And that is literally donations from all over the country. We just surpassed 11,000 on GoFundMe. GoFundMe keeps 3% of that. Every other day it's deposited right into the bank account, it's transferred. So I have in possession in deposits already $5,500 in large contributions, and I have $5,500 already. And that's me, I haven't even gone out to our businesses yet. I have sent I have a standard letter which was approved last time, but I haven't even started reaching out to specific businesses within the jurisdictions. This is all from people or businesses that have worked with me in the past, my connections through the K-9 unit. I mean, for instance, just to give you an idea, so I've been wrapping his feet every night, because if I can keep the so I'm going through a lot of wrap. So on Saturday, I'm like, I have to buy more. So I'm like, well, I've never done this before. I created an Amazon wish list. I posted it on Facebook. All it was bandages, tape, gauze, about $125 worth of items, and within less than an hour, I had everything taken care of and half of it arrived today already. So I was racking his feet today with new gauze that I received from over the weekend. The following is incredible. I've had people that are without pets, people that are disabled reach out to me and say that Bane gives them the will to get up every day and adapt to their disabilities. People who have reached out to me asking me how to figure out if their dog has degenerative myelopathy. I give them the DNA test name. They do it, they text, they send me messages back. It's been confirmed, but I'm glad because this is how I'm gonna move forward. So I think the overall support that the community has had, he's been on every news channel. We're doing the national anthem at the Brewer game tomorrow. We're standing on the field with the duet that's gonna do it in front of the entire stadium. Oh, he was gonna sing it. Oh, yeah, that was the funny thing.
I thought the chief was going to.
So I'm talking to the gal to try and arrange, because I basically told him, Bane is handicapped, I can't walk the whole stadium with him, we kind of have to park close. I will be in full uniform, we will have the squad. And she goes, okay, so you're not singing?
Paging Ann Eaker.
You don't want me to. This isn't a trio, it's a duet, and Bane and I will be respectfully next to him. So it's pretty much.
You take all the fun out of it.
It would have been like, hold on, hey Google, play the national anthem, and that's what I would have done. You don't want me singing. But, that's pretty much an opportunity of a lifetime, I think, for me as a canine handler, to be able to present him to the mass community. So that's coming up tomorrow. We had two very successful brat fries at our Pick and Save here, where all the food was donated by another canine nonprofit organization, and we made over $4,000 in those just selling brats and hot dogs. So much so that Pick and Save in Franklin reached out to us essentially, and we're doing one there on October 1st. I've already had a butcher. All literally grassroots fundraising, just word of mouth and Bane's shining personality, which makes me laugh. But, I'm very blessed. I have an amazing support system. And I hope that he can be at that statue, but what I'm looking for. Probably longer than us, because that bronze should last a while. We are looking into the foundry that actually did the bronze fonz, and they actually did I think they did the crusher too. That's in South Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Tell him. Good imitation there. Tell him.
So,
I thought he was doing his crusher imitation.
yeah, I think, and Jen Sweet Treats, I have to set up a Sunday with her. She started an entire dog food treat line, and then a company actually reached out and they're gonna match up to $1,000 in donations. They have to write the check directly to the sculptor, which is fine, but I couldn't be more lucky in how much, and surprised at how much we've raised so fast. My goal is still at 50,000, because I figure that will cover everything. But, we've been lucky. And he's been doing fine. He was fine today. So, he was in a.
Unlike the day that he growled at me and snarled at me when I was feeding him treats, the little
That's when
stinker.
you took the treats away, and then you gave it to him, and then you try and pet the top of his head.
No,
and
I was
hold on.
peddling his chin,
Oh, yeah.
or cuddling his chin.
So he does, and it was funny, because Alex was in the office today, Sir Conrad, and he's like, snuggle him, and he'll be sorry if you do that. So, and then, as you know, they had the Frisbees thrown out, which was awesome, sponsored by AmeriGas on Hall Avenue. The chalk sculpture, or the chalk drawing that we had, that's pretty much right where I want the statue, just right to the side of that. So, I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope I got your, I don't know where those t-shirts went, but they're coming. So, but I'm happy to answer any questions, that you may have. The timeline for this is April, May for a dedication. I hope to do a big public dedication. It takes for about 8 months, and we need the ground to thaw, essentially, to be able to put the base in.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. the success you're seeing now is because of the notoriety you gave him all along. From day one, you've welcomed him to the community, shared his experiences, and they've gotten to know him through that social media. So that's a testament to you and him as a partnership, and I appreciate that. And his replacement, they have some work ahead of them to get his notoriety up.
Yeah, and it's funny because they just each had their own personalities, so it's just a matter of figuring out, like with Bane, I had to finally accept the fact that people couldn't pet him, but how do I make him shine? You know, I knew I had a program to support, so that was part of it too. And I was fortunate, you know, with the awards that we won and him being the first canine to win things. So I was very fortunate that way too. I know. He's wearing his Bane onesie, I put him in it. My poor kids have to wear everything Bane.
Imagine that.
I think he's trying to tell you, you're done now, Mom. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
So do we need a motion to change anything, or can we just let it ride, knowing that
Update.
we're all probably in agreement? It
Well,
can
I
be
think-
put wherever she wants, and
Yeah,
as long as engineering
I just want
agrees.
the blessing that it's okay that our sculptor. I don't wanna be like mid-talk, but I just want the okay that that's where I can, because the sculptor knows exactly where that spot is, for sure. So I just want us to be able to move forward with that location.
I think as long as engineering says the placement's okay with I think we're all on board. I'll make that motion that we can have it in the new area if
I'll
that's what we
second
need.
that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you, Holly.
Mayor, motion to resume the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Block Party Street Closing, Falklandian Brewing, October 8th, 2022. Mark or Paul?
I'll just summarize. We did meet with Ben.
And
Linda
Ben
and
is here.
I met with Ben, and we had a discussion on the event. It came to our attention through Paul that there's a state statute with regard to Class B beer and liquor licensed premise, that other businesses can't operate on a licensed premise of a Class B beer and liquor license. So extending the liquor license to the Block Party area or an area other than their existing licensed premise, and having a craft fair, with other businesses on the licensed premise wouldn't have been in accordance with state statute. So we sat down with Ben and we reviewed, actually Melinda contacted We Energies and wanted to know if there was any limitations on placing the tent and the craft fair underneath the power lines on the property that's owned by the city just south of the Falklandia licensed premise. We Energies, their only concern was they didn't want stakes pounded into the ground. Ben agreed to have the tents installed without stakes being pounded in the ground. And so both tents will be placed under the power lines or between the power lines. The tents are 30 by 90, so the tents will be back end to end will be 30 by 180 foot long. The plan is to have a craft fair in there. There will not be any beverages or food served within the craft fair. All beverages and food will be served within Falklandia's licensed premise. There's no longer is a need to close Packard Avenue. In fact, I think Ben prefers not to have it closed so that the patrons can park along Packard Avenue to get to the event. We did offer to allow the north end of the Triangle property where there is pavement, some existing pavement, to be used for parking. So I think we've determined that might be able to get up to 75 cars in that north end, and Melinda's offered to have DPW put crosswalks around that parking area so that the people know that they can only park in that area and that they can't either drive out into Lake Drive from that parking area. They can only access it through Packard Avenue, and they would not be able to drive on the grassy area of the Triangle property. So there is no need for a street closing for Packard Avenue, nor is there a need to place the tent in the right-of-way There is a license agreement that Paul is working on with Ben in order to meet the conditions of using our property. Some of the conditions, I think, Paul, you want to summarize what the conditions of the license agreement are?
Sure. Yes, thank you. There's, so we do have provision in the proposed license agreement under which, for example, the city would be provided with proof of insurance. With the city as an additional insured, we've proposed $2 million, and I had recommended that Ann in her upcoming or discussion with the city's insurance consultant confirm the acceptability of that. But we also have indications as far as the locations. We need a site plan as far as the location of the music, the tents, conditions or restrictions as far as how the tents are going to be secured. For example, nothing driven into the ground, obviously, because of the presence of underground wiring and so forth. Although the event is going to be Saturday, 11 till 6 p.m., we've provided provision for the additional use of the city property for purposes of erecting the fences and, the tents, and then taking them down. So we've tried to provide something that will accommodate the needs, but also, make sure that it's done in accordance with the city's code with respect to, for example, outdoor amplified music, and also provide safety with respect to the participants. We've also proposed restrictions as far as how people can enter into the property. I know building inspection and fire have also have specific needs with regard to site plans, and so Ben has provided an updated site plan. We need a little bit more detail, which we can discuss, tomorrow at your convenience. But we're moving along as far as getting that done.
Do we need a motion for just continuing to work with city staff and maybe approving contingent on that? Or what are we looking for here?
We don't have the license agreement isn't on for approval tonight, so I think we could do that at the next meeting. But obviously, we're still working as far as the finalization of the site plan and the.
So no motion is needed.
So I don't think there's a motion that you need tonight. So.
Ben, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, whatever you guys need from us, we're happy to provide to you. This is sorry, pardon me. This is a party that has been put on pre-COVID the last 5 years, and it's been a positive influence on the community here and give an opportunity for Milwaukee businesses to make a little money and give some opportunity for St. Francis to get a little notoriety. This is, the drive-through, the Thanksgiving drive-through. This will be the third event that we've tried to put on to really put St. Francis on the map and really put us on the map, that we've really met with a lot of pushback. And so unfortunately, I really want to see this event go through. I really want to see St. Francis put on the map for the opportunity to be just south of Bayview. Unfortunately, the person who's putting it on has brought to us that it's been such a pain that, if it doesn't really go through this year, that she probably won't bring it back. So we really, really want to bring this to St. Francis, and we really, really want the opportunity for Falklandia to be the brewery of choice here in St. Francis. I know you guys had your mindset on SFB. Unfortunately, they're not doing anything, and we have been for the last 2.5 years. So we really would love the opportunity to really put St. Francis on the map and really give you guys that younger crowd that you guys are yearning for, and we have in our pocket that just unfortunately hasn't had the opportunity to really shine. And we're accepting of all in this opportunity, and we really, really would appreciate your support. And Mark and everybody has really been supportive, and we really appreciate it. So if we could continue to move this forward, whatever you need from me, I'm here 24/7. Shoot me a call, shoot me an email. I just want to get it taken care of. I don't want any obstacles. So whatever it takes, we'll get it taken care of. So
Sounds like they have a plan, you just need to work it out with the
yeah,
details.
yeah, absolutely.
If I may, Chief?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and Ben, I just want to say, thank you for working with the city. I think that your event you're exactly right, you know, put us on the map. This is exactly the type of thing that I think, you know, young people in Bayview and St. Francis look forward to and enjoy. I think it will be well attended.
Yeah.
You know, and I also think that city staff here is doing kind of everything they can to make it a safe event, make it work for the residents, you know, and everything else. And so I'm happy to see the collaboration. I think it'll continue, and I hope that your event is a success.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, that's our goal, is to really just make this an awesome, positive experience. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
And I'll just say, thank you for your involvement with the city.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll continue that. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Nope.
In placement of tent goes with the first one, so we're going to bypass that. Dispensing of Narcan on public property. Mark, Paul, or Jackie?
Jackie's here for it.
This came up at the library board meeting here last week. Amy had indicated that she had talked with Jackie about the possibility of placing a Narcan dispensary on library property. I think it was discussed with the library board, and the library board agreed to get input from the city council prior to taking any action on that independently of the common council. So Jackie, if you want to.
Sure, thanks. So this is an opportunity that's being rolled out across the state through Wisconsin Voices for Recovery. They actually have these naloxone boxes that you hang on a wall or you have in a public place that allows people to have access to Narcan. This is not anything that would be run by the health department, but we're just trying to get information out to businesses that may be interested in having the boxes. So it's a box that looks similar to an AED box that hangs on the wall. And Wisconsin Voices for Recovery monitors those boxes. And when someone takes a box of the naloxone, they replace that with another box. So there's no camera on it. It's not really, it's just an alarm that they get notified that says somebody opened the box and took Narcan out of it. So we've been approaching several businesses on their behalf to give them information about this program that's available, and trying to work through if they're interested. We would hook them up with Wisconsin Voices for Recovery that has a memorandum of agreement that the business would sign with them, and the follow-through would be through that agency. So we had a presentation. There were several different departments on the call, health departments in our South Shore communities, along with those members that attend the opioid fatality review. And so the library was approached to host a box, and Lieutenant Harkis had some concerns about the easy access of the box if it's not being monitored, and which is of great concern. His example was, what if an 8-year-old goes in there and takes it and then uses the Narcan? That 8-year-old, if they used it and was not addicted to an opioid, would have some side effects. It wouldn't, unless they had an allergic reaction to it, they would likely have elevated blood pressure, some difficulty with swelling in their nasal passages. They could have some heart palpitations, those kind of things. those symptoms would eventually go away, but it could be very scary for them. So if the library is interested in hosting this box, I think that the library director did indicate that they would put it near the circulation desk or something so they could keep an eye on it and make sure that it was an adult that was going into the box. As you may or may not know, the health department has had a Narcan distribution program for quite some time now, so people can come to the health department to receive Narcan. We do that through a standing order from our medical director, and so we do have an education component that's required to get that, unless they're just coming back for a refill. So that's always an opportunity for residents within the community to come and to the health department to receive that. So we wouldn't look at our municipal buildings necessarily as options, but it was really more to roll out to businesses. We had a couple of nurses that were just trying to get information out. So it's an option to consider, but do know that we do have Narcan available at the health department for residents within the community.
And your Narcan that you've been doing with the program, you've been doing, how many a year that are used? How many does it go out? Do you know the numbers?
Offhand, I didn't look to see how many we've used, but we also do supply Narcan to the police departments. So that might look a little skewed by how much goes out because we supply them sometimes with 12 two-dose boxes at a time. So our grant that we get from the state estimates about 144 doses of Narcan that would be allocated to our two communities, with the availability to get more as needed. But generally, we haven't gone over about 144 doses.
Personally, I don't believe that we should have this out in the public, in the library setting, or in just so anybody can get their hands on it. I think that they have a program to get the Narcan out to the people that need it, and it's working just fine. And I don't think that it's a good idea to bring that into the community when there's no way of monitoring, no way of watching. I just think it's dangerous.
Well,
And with that, I
having
pass.
something available for people that are afraid to go into a health department is what we're looking for the whole state of Wisconsin. Let's face it, we have a major problem. And if there are people that don't want to go to the health department or be seen, these type of maybe put in businesses, I don't know, but I'm not talking about the public library, I'm not sure about that one, but would be helpful for people. Do we have any statistics like on St. Francis overdoses or deaths, or what about the library? Has the library ever had some occurrences that they feel it's necessary? Do they have a reason to believe that there are people that come in? I mean, I don't know. I'm just wondering why the library right away was ready to jump on. Is there something that, we don't maybe know about that is going on?
I think the library was just a safe place as opposed to having it here in City Hall where the police are here and they could potentially be monitoring, or the fire department would be monitoring who took this dose, what's the license plate, where are they going. The library is seen as a safer place to do that with a little bit less view of who's doing it. I think that was the reason the library was approached.
I don't want to speak for the library director, but I do know that one of the nurses, Kaylin Dorniak, and the other nurse, Taylor Way, did meet with the library director, and she has indicated that they found needles, syringes in the bathroom. So there's evidence of some activity going on. I don't know how often, but I mean, the other piece to that would be to make sure that there's sharps containers, a safe place for disposal in the bathrooms. And this is an option. There is a statewide standing order for Narcan, so it's something that they can get over the counter without a prescription. And I can tell you just from our experience, I think the most people that we've seen at the health department come in are family members that want to have it available for their loved one that has an addiction. So it may be an opportunity for them to be discreet and able to get it without that. There tends to be a stigma and embarrassment when they're coming to ask for it. So the goal was to try and get it into businesses that people do frequent. You know, we were thinking gas station bathrooms might be an option because we do know that that's a hot spot. The convenience stores like Dollar General, Dollar Tree have had overdoses in the past, and we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for their patrons to have easy access to naloxone and not be embarrassed about coming in and asking for something. And the goal, again, for this program is to get it out widespread to prevent death from overdoses. So that's the goal of it.
And you raise a valid point, Jackie. It's not to encourage drug use. It's for the family members to save the drug user. A drug user is not going to reverse the effects of their narcotic willingly.
Right, but you know, this is one part of our program. We still have our quick response team visits that we do with Lieutenant Harkis from the police department, a nurse, and a peer support specialist. So if there's a response to a non-fatal overdose, you know, we go out as a team to respond to that to try and get them into treatment. So this is just one extra piece, one more opportunity to try and save a life.
Do you have any statistics or data to suggest how long after a dose of Narcan is picked up is it being used to help with a potential overdose? Like, I guess what I'm trying to, I think maybe some members of the council might think that we wouldn't want to turn the library into a place, like a safe place for drug users to congregate. And, you know, if maybe there's some data that suggests that, you know, somebody's picking up a dose of Narcan thinking that a family member might need it rather than in order to help somebody who's actively going into overdose at the library, maybe that might help with some of the expectations or, you know, thoughts around it.
Yeah, that's something new that we've been asked to collect is reports of the Narcan saving a life. That information is, that follow-up information is really hard to get because, again, people kind of want to get the information, the education, the Narcan, and then they don't really want you to call them and say, how's it going? Did you use it? It's really more of a, let's try to remain slightly anonymous about it. So we don't have that. It is something that the state grant is asking for. So we are looking at how we do that follow-up and be discreet about it.
Is there any expiration date on Narcan where if this potentially sits for a year, how, like, could it be harmful for somebody if it's not used or?
Not necessarily harmful, it's just not as effective. So there is an expiration date. I think it's about a 2-year expiration date, from what I recall. And so we do have people that come in and say, mine expired, can I get a refill? Because they've had the education and they just want a refill. And we do that too.
Yeah, I took one of those classes through the health department and had the training, and I do carry Narcan same way and have had mine expire because I haven't had to use it, so I've had it changed over. But thank goodness they do offer those classes for people to, you know, to be aware.
Absolutely.
To the gas stations in the local area?
The nurses have. They've gotten a couple of positive responses from a couple businesses, and I can't say whether it was a gas station or one of the like dollar stores or something like that. I heard them mention that, but again, it's really just introducing to them, and we're going to hand them off to Wisconsin Voices for Recovery because it's really their program, it's their memorandum of agreement. So, you know, it's just there was some concern about in the municipal buildings and especially library with the younger individuals that patronize the library, and just there was that concern raised by the police officers in the room that were like, how are we monitoring that and making sure it gets into the right hands? So.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jackie, you had mentioned a couple things. I was wondering if you could expound upon them, please. First of all, the education that you require, could you explain what that is? And then second, with respect to, you mentioned if the person doesn't have an allergy to the Narcan, the symptoms that they could experience, can you explain, A, the likelihood that someone might be allergic, and B, what happens if they are?
I can't speak for what they would experience if they were allergic, but just like any other kinds of allergies to medications or foods, they may have some respiratory distress. That's something that you may not know unless you've had the drug in the past or you've had a narcotic and had a reaction to it.
Is there a life-threatening aspect to it?
There could be if you do have an allergy. If you don't have an allergy, generally you're going to have some unusual signs and symptoms, increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, dizziness, nausea, those kind of things. That should subside in time.
And then the educational component that you require at the health department, what does that consist of?
So as part of our policy and procedure, we have to have, because we're nurses doing that education, we have to have a medical standing order to give that because it is a prescription drug, even though there is a statewide standing order. And as part of our policy and procedure for that, we do education of signs and symptoms of an overdose, what to look for, what to watch for, and then how to administer the Narcan is primarily the roles that we do with those that come in for Narcan. We have a demonstration device that we can show them how to use the Narcan. And they can demonstrate that use of it. And we think that that's an important component. I think a lot of times also we have resources that we can give them. So we have resource packets already made up for family members that have treatment facilities numbers to call, emergency numbers. And, we think that all of that education is an important piece of this besides giving the Narcan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Jackie, do we know of any other libraries or any other public that are doing this yet? I mean, has the state said, is there anyone else that we could look at, if they put one in yet and how it's going or no?
Yeah, not libraries in particular. They have worked with some universities, and I'm not sure exactly on campus where they have those. Some of the House of Corrections in counties, they've got naloxone boxes. I know that they outreach to parole agencies, and they did reach out to Milwaukee County Parole to have these boxes available for those that come in to meet. And, that was another thing is when they're approached at the police departments that currently have those programs, it's those individuals are supposed to be drug-free. So it's difficult. That was the feedback that we got, even though we know that having this life-saving drug is important and should be available. But the other piece is that we're right down the hall, or if there was interest in someone, we could meet them where they're at their home, here, at a business. We can meet them and give them the education and give them the Narcan. It's not like they have to come to our office to get it. We can meet them and provide the education and give them the Narcan.
So is this something that's got to be decided tonight, or can there be more research done, or something?
Well, I think Amy had requested that the library board take action. And so the thought was what is the input from the common council before the library board would take action on the request from
And I
Amy?
think it would have to be, we'd have to know where it's placed, and if it's, to me, I wouldn't want a child to get it, but could it be placed somewhere higher up, or where a child wouldn't reach it or get it, like some of the other things that you see at, the bathrooms when you go to. I think that we'd have to just have a little more information on it. That's my opinion.
If I may, in theory, I understand this. In practice, it's hard for me to wrap my head around a library with all those children. Children can climb. They're sneaky at times. They're gonna find stuff. So in practice, it's really hard for me to wrap my head around the library having that. In theory, I understand it, but this is city property, and we gotta look out for the people that are addicted. I get it, I understand, but we also have to protect these kids. So Debbie, I agree with you. We need more information.
I personally, I don't think we should have it at the library. I think we should look at other businesses that have that if we're gonna do this in the community. Definitely not at the library, though.
That's my thought also. I realize I do not have a vote on the library board, but I don't think it's a good idea.
So Paul, we do need a motion on this then, Paul?
I think that was the.
Intent.
The intent, that
Okay.
there was going to be some direction from the common council as to how to proceed in this respect.
So
Have to
the
go
action
legally,
item,
like the legal liability too. I'm sure there's got to be some liability
Yes.
if we place it, so I would think we would need like a legal opinion too. on
so
how-
yeah, the action item says dispensing of Narcan on public property. I think, the library is obviously included in that, but maybe the motion is to ask city staff to come up with policy and any legal frameworks that might be required to make this work. I think while I agree that the library is a place for children, I also agree that it's a public place. It's people, people from all walks of life with a lot of different issues, or with, potentially people at home that have, drug issues, it's a safe public place to go to. So I think that needs to be balanced very carefully. And I think, now that, at least for me, now that I have all the context around it, I'd like to spend a little bit more time thinking about it. But I do think that we should have city staff come up with, like what a policy looks like, and any law that needs to be considered.
And with
So-
possibly some alternate locations. to
Yeah,
consider.
right. So I would say that my motion would be to start that process of the policy and the law.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I think we should notify the library that we would request a not move until we have that determination made.
I'll amend my motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Aye.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
We're done, okay. Appointments to committees, commissions, and boards. Bob Korosky for the Celebration Committee. Can I get a motion,
I'll
please?
motion to approve, Bob.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Correspondence with possible action or referral to committee, commissions, and boards. Correspondence from Carol Knutson for a handicap parking at 1825 East St. Francis Avenue. Melinda's not in the room.
This is an inquiry that came to Melinda from the resident with respect to the request for handicap parking at that stated address. This is a little different than what the city's seen in the past, in that the request is related to the access to the front of the property by a commercial transport vehicle, which actually places it outside of the scope of our ordinance under which we provide handicap parking for use by residents' vehicles. So the original anticipation was that it was going to go to Board of Public Works for a recommendation back to the Common Council. The alternative would be for the council to direct staff to work with the resident to see what other avenues might be available to assist them. There's some lack of clarity in the correspondence as far as how often this happens, or how often the bus, if you will, or transport vehicle comes by. It's also not clear as to why they can't just pull into the driveway, which seems otherwise large enough. That would be, so the recommendation on speaking with Mark, just before the meeting, was that it be referred to staff for further discussion with the resident.
If for further discussion, what?
with the resident.
Okay.
Also move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Unfinished business, none. Other business, none. Jackie?
Thank you. So the health department is currently in the midst of doing flu vaccines, COVID vaccines, including the new boosters. We will have a children's vaccine clinic here on September 22nd in this room. And we have 4 booster-only clinics for COVID vaccines scheduled. One will be here October 3rd. We have one in each of the 4 communities in the South Shore. Let's see. We are due for a state review that makes sure that we're in compliance with Administrative Code 140. We will have that on Wednesday, October 19th, and that will review our Level 3 health department. And I think that's pretty much it. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you. Chief Poplar?
Just a few things. Department's gearing up for one of our busiest public relations month, October being fire prevention month. So we'll be in the schools more than we were able to last year, and definitely more than the year before. We're looking forward to that. New firefighter starts getting sworn in on Thursday morning and goes immediately to our Joint Fire Academy on Friday for 4 weeks. Just a lot of maintenance and hose testing before the cold weather sets in, and just got back from Colorado Springs from the trip. So Bob Reese's family. So Bob, like I explained last time, was one of our retirees, passed away from duty, presumption of cancer. Was well taken care of out in Colorado. Received his flag. She traveled with her granddaughter, and so his name is forever memorialized on that on the memorial out there. And with that, I pass.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Hunter?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I have to keep it short thanks to Holly, so, which is fine.
She took up your time.
That's fine. I know there was a lot of concern regarding Howard Avenue and KK as far as crossing guards. We have a crossing guard there in the morning and in the afternoon, so we have that settled. We have one of our clerks that can do the mornings, the afternoons, and then a auxiliary that decided that he can do the, and he's been a long-standing auxiliary for over 35 years, so he's going to do the afternoons there. So we have KK and Howard Avenue finally back in business with crossing guards, so it makes me feel better. I did not want it to go. That was not my intent. However, again, per state statute, we have to have somebody within the school zones, and that was not within the school zones. We also lost a clerk, a part-time clerk, so we are currently hiring for a part-time clerk's position. South Milwaukee, Cudahy, and Oak Creek are also hiring for part-time clerks right now, so we're battling. With that said, hopefully we'll get some good applicants soon. And other than that, our officers are skipping morning roll call. They're going straight out to the schools, so they're at the schools every morning to make sure that things are going smoothly. Deer Creek is slowly adhering to or getting the hint that they cannot turn left onto KK during school hours, because that was the biggest complaint. And we all, like I told you before, we almost had some incidents there as far as traffic accidents. Other than that, we're gearing up for the other thing is school also is going to be paying for overtime when it comes to officers at sporting events, and that's in light of some of the incidents that occurred last year, as well as the Kenosha, the Racine school shooting that occurred after a football game this year. So they will be reimbursing our officers for overtime that are up there during the school events, on top of the SRO MOU that they're paying the $25,000 a year for. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Chief. Ann?
Nothing.
Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just two things very, very quickly. The Zoning Board of Appeals was named in a circuit court action by QC Financial, appealing the decision by the board upholding the determination by our zoning administrator that the use was not a legal non-conforming use. We have filed a response to that. A new judge has been assigned, and we are now awaiting our status conference. Secondly, just a quick update, Hidden Ponds. We came to a slow standstill last week. Unfortunately, the representative of Ellers, who's been working on the case, wife was hospitalized in the ICU for meningitis, thus creating an unavailability for the analyst from Ellers that has been working on the project. So we're waiting for an update in that respect, and hopefully we'll have that soon. And with that, I pass.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. Melinda stepped out, so I will review her memo. The fuel tank project at the highway garage, which is funded through ARP funding, needed to be amended. There was additional work that needed to be done. New conduit and wiring had to be installed. City staff, DPW staff did do the trench work, so we trenched it. Their subcontractor will be placing the new wiring and conduit so that the pumps can operate. Currently, the pumps are not operating, and we're having staff having to go to local gas stations in order to get fuel. And this has to be completed by October 1st. So we as staff authorized them to move forward based on the premise that we're notifying the council of the change to the ARP funding for this. The other thing I had, and I sent you an email today on a meeting that we had with Oak Creek on September 7th. There was elected officials from both City of St. Francis, elected and appointed officials from both City of St. Francis and Oak Creek, including Mayor Tutai and Council President Fire, and myself, and both chiefs, and Paul, and I believe Feroz Gauss was their IT director as well. I think it was productive. They explained their position and their costs, their rising cost of providing dispatch. They did indicate that they have been talking with South Milwaukee, although South Milwaukee doesn't have the growth that we have to be able to maybe expand into dispatch with Oak Creek at this time, but they're hopeful that at some point in the future that South Milwaukee may also be part of that dispatch center. They've indicated that they're willing to provide us with a draft of a new agreement sometime late October for consideration. So we will keep you updated. We've been given dates by Oak Creek in the past, and they always haven't provided us with what they've said they were going to provide based on those dates. So, but tentatively, it's the end of October. And I think that it's something, based on our discussion, I think it was productive. The devil is always in the detail, and I think that once we get the draft agreement, it will become much clearer on where we're sitting. But we wanted to keep you all updated on where we're at with that, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mark. Matt Damon.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just want to again call out all of our chiefs and department heads. You guys continue to do an awesome job. I think the collaboration with Falklandia Brewing is, definitely something that, maybe it's taking a little bit longer than the business would like, but I think we're all getting what we need out of the arrangements, and I think that's great. And just very happy that we have the professionals that we do working in the city, and that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Steve?
I'll pass, sir.
Thank you. Don?
Hidden Ponds.
Enough said.
Next.
Hidden Ponds, the guy that was supposed to be the savior, working with the city to get everything ironed out and work smoothly, found out the other day he is on Gary's payroll. He works for Gary, which was not disclosed when we had the discussion as to whether or not he was going to assist. I think that that was disingenuous and dishonest. This guy is not relenting. This guy is not going to do anything that he doesn't have to do. And I don't think that the city should bend 1 inch when it comes to this development. We should hold his feet to the fire and make him do exactly what the city wants him to do. And if he cannot provide that, then he should not be allowed to finish the development. This guy did not disclose that he was an employee. I find that incredibly disingenuous. And when we ask them for, part of the issue is we ask them for information, and they want to have a list of the questions before they'll go anywhere. Unacceptable. We asked them for information. We should get the information that we're asking for. Anything less is unacceptable. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Don. Debbie?
Pass, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Sarah?
Pass, Mr. Mayor.
You got 2 extra ones now. Sean?
So with Falklandia, I'm glad he's working with us. I told him last meeting, work through the pains. The first one's always the toughest. After you have your bridge work established, next year they become easier. So it's creating some work for him now, but he'll have a blueprint moving forward. With the library, one of the things that came up that was alarming to me, and I'm hoping between the 3 of you, you might have a resource, is there a grant out there anywhere for AEDs? Our library does not have an AED, which is really alarming with the population that's in there.
We had this conversation at the department head meeting, and I did say that she could appeal to the Lions Club. And we just had a conversation with Chief Poplar to make sure that she consults them on purchasing so that it's a match for what they currently use. So
That would be good, because when they talked about this other alternative, I said, would that go by the AED? Oh, we don't have an AED. Oh, okay, interesting. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you. Chief Poplar? No, I just got a question for you.
Yes.
Didn't the Geiger Foundation give a bunch of those to the high school back in 2019?
They did get several of them. We actually got one for the police department for the UTV through them. What I was going to offer, and as we're transitioning to our paramedic, we're going to have, there's a chance that we have a spare unit that would be of BLS caliber. Granted, we'd have to get it reprogrammed, and I don't know where the price point is. We'd have to get it reprogrammed to fit like a bystander for the use. I have to check into it before I go talk to the library. But like Jackie said, we can also get a discounted rate, and I'll work with them on getting a discounted rate or a factory refurbished unit, if you want to call it that, that would make it very affordable to them. So between the Lions Club, myself, the department getting our discount, yeah, we could reach out and help them secure it. The library, we didn't know that there wasn't one in there, but you're right. You're going to most restaurants nowadays, you'll see them. So there's no reason that our library shouldn't have one. I didn't know that we didn't have one there. Just like the schools, it becomes the property of the school district. We can work with them, especially being a city entity. We can work with them to make sure that they're inspected, that we get pads for them, and we take care of that within, intra-departmentally. So we can work on it with them. So I don't think it'll be long that the library will be without one.
And Chief, do you think it would be wise for me to reach out to the Geiger Foundation to see if they can donate?
I think in something like this, we should maybe reach local first.
Okay.
Because they have given, they've been very generous to us. I think we can take care of this.
Understood.
Within our city boundaries.
Thank you, Chief. And now for the mayor's minutes. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned.